Good afternoon, everyone. Uh, Before I start talking about what I'm going to say in the next few minutes, I want you guys to think about where your food, fresh produce, actually comes from. A lot of us think that our fresh produce comes directly from farms. A very small minority of the population actually get their fruit directly from farm. Most of us get it from your retailers, open market, or go to your supermarket, or elsewhere. That's how you get your fruit. So the moment a fruit or vegetable is harvested in a field, from that point, there's a complex, convoluted supply chain process up until that fresh produce appears in your retail shelves and eventually in your home fridge. And that industry is called post-harvest. It's one of the most important and critical part of this supply chain process. And it's one of the least understood part of this supply chain process as well, because most people don't know that an industry like this does exist. That's how we all actually consume our fruit and vegetable. That's how fruits and vegetables come across the world, but we don't understand a lot of these things. Now, this industry, similar to pickers in the field, this industry is fully reliant on human labor. Human beings are doing these jobs day in and day out, processing the fruit, looking at what quality of the issue of the fruit is, or vegetable is, their package and so to do all sorts of things. Because human beings are versatile. We train ourselves, we get ourselves, we are dynamic, we learn, and we adapt. But the most important thing we've got as a human being is the ability to be dexterous and delicate enough. That dexterity is something we all, or most of us, are born with. We almost take it for granted. We actually take quite some time, even when you're born, to actually become dexterous, to start learning to walk, your fine motor skills and everything. But it takes a while, and eventually we all take it for granted. But what's happening now is there's a big issue happening in the industry, and this is across the world, not just in the UK where I'm from, but in the US and across the world, that people are not available. Where are all the people gone? People don't want to do these jobs. And the reason why they don't want to do these jobs is that these type of jobs are very repetitive, very laborsome, cumbersome, very, to be honest, boring. You wouldn't do these jobs unless that's literally your only option. And what's happening is, as we go forward, most of our post-harvest industry companies do not have people to actually do this job anymore. Now, the only way to do this or solve this is automation, getting robots or getting mechanized solutions. But even that, we don't have a solution available. Most of our solutions are based around humans. So you've got a mechanized, let's say, conveyor. You still need human beings to monitor those conveyors. If you got a weighing systems or you got other mechanized solutions, you still need human beings to do that job. But there's nothing which enables a robot or a machine to be dexterous enough to handle soft, very random, irregular objects. Obviously, food chain is one of those things which affects us all. And this, you guys may or may not know this, but we lose thousands of kilos of fresh produce each season across the world. This is not just in one area, we lose a lot of that. And there are various reasons behind it. Non-availability of human labor is one part of it. There's also issues with shelf life, because you don't know how long a fresh produce is going to last before its own immune system dies and it contracts something called botrytis or gray mold. And there's no way to actually get that information in real time. And of course, the supply chain itself is so convoluted that a lot of these things get wasted. So we lose a lot of fruit in place. But one more important thing is we as consumers are very demanding. So when you go into a retail shelf, you see a scratch on an apple, you probably won't get it. If you see a bruise mark on your tomato, you won't get it. Right? So what happens? What do you think happens to that tomato? If everyone stops taking it, that goes out to food compost. No one buys it. It's gone. Because it got a 5 days, 6 days, 10-day shelf life. By the time it goes to retail shelf, the time is ticking. You need to consume that. And of course, the fruit is not good. We as consumers are demanding. We don't take those fruits. So how do we make sure the fruit is as good looking as well? Even it sounds crazy, but it needs to be good looking as well. Now, because of these issues, the industry, our customers, they traditionally made 2 to 4% margins. Just let that sink in. Any changes in things like energy prices going up means they are at risk of collapse. Last year, a lot of our customers suffered a lot when energy prices went up. So in the UK, we don't grow a lot of fruit. A lot of those things are done in nurseries, and that nurseries needs heating, and heating needs energy. So all of that meant a lot of our customers struggled a lot in making themselves sustainable, and few of them actually shut down. And now imagine a world where every pack house decides, you know what, I don't want to do this job anymore. 2%, the business can die anytime. I'm not going to do it anymore. What happens? How do we get our fruit? How do we get our vegetable? I don't know if you guys know that this year alone, in January and February, in the UK, we had tomatoes and pepper shortages. For 4 weeks, that thankfully only lasted for 4 weeks, so we were rationing fruits. So, and again, this is something, until it happens, you don't realize that this is an issue. And of course, that affects completely, it comes down to food security. How do we make sure that fruit which we're getting is secure if we don't manage the supply chain process? So what we've done is we, as a company, we have developed the world's most, we call it the advanced and dexterous robotic system. The system is very mobile and very dexterous, very small. What it does is it does what a human being does on a production line. It does it at the same speed and efficiency. We have something called the electronic skin. What the e-skin does, it gives the robot the human feel, the ability to know how to manipulate objects. But it also goes beyond human capability. The moment it touches the fruit, it knows the shelf life of that fruit. We're monitoring ethylene concentration. So when it picks up, it knows this is going to last for 5 days, this is going to last for 10 days or 15 days. And you can then make sure you can sell them at the right time. We do what we call delicate handling. So I talked about bruising and damages of fruit. The robot makes sure it doesn't do that. It does it consistently, 10 hours, 24 hours a day. We also have the world's first, we call it vine detection. The ability to look at, let's say, grapes. We are able to look at stems and branches, and we're able to then snip them out in real time, better than a human being. And we do it consistently, day in and day out. And we also do weight estimation. So the robot just looks at the fruit, and it knows how much the fruit actually weighs. And by combination of these technologies, what we've done is we have created, currently it's the only commercially available post-harvest system. They've revolutionized this whole industry quite massively. But more importantly, we wanted to make sure that our customers also save a lot on their operations. They save 60% on labor costs, instant ROI, but they increase the margins. So our customers are now looking from 2 to 4% margins to up to 25%. Now it's interesting. Now I want to be in this business because now I can sustain myself. We increase productivity by up to 40%. That never happened. This whole industry was like this would last 50 to 60 years. Now it's more than field to fork. Now just as an example, we've got a harvester, goes to a pack house and then goes to a retailer. Just pretty much where we sit. That whole industry is post-harvest. Apart from our customers getting improved shelf life and food wastage and reduced contact points, what we also have is we wanted to make sure that these systems are affordable to our customers. Not only that our customers can buy the system, but they can rent it, and you can pay the robot, we charge the robot the same hourly rate of a human labor on a production line. That means even if you're a small processing facility, you can still afford these robots. Now, obviously, there are lots of customer benefits we talked about, but there's another thing we also discovered. The carbon footprint of having robotic system, you reduce that massively. And the way we do that is, the robots need less space. So in one of our customers, we actually took 3 of their packaging facilities and combined that into one. That one facility is now doing the work of 3 massive pack houses. So now you reduce all the operational costs of running this business, and you don't need a very large facility. Just shrink it down. And just the last point here, I think a lot of people may not realize this. To save on labor cost, a lot of people, what they do is they pre-package these fruits and vegetables at source. So sometimes gets packaged in Africa or South America, and that's to save on labor. And then when it arrives, let's say in the UK, the US, even Saudi Arabia, what they do is they basically open up the film, they take the fruit out, they look at the fruit, they put it back in and reprocess it. All that plastic which comes in literally in a container is wasted. We just redo the whole thing. Obviously, with robotic systems, you don't need that anymore. What we hope to do and what we've done in this industry for the past, something which has not been done for the past 50 to 60 years, is that we are enabling not just our current generation, but a future generation to be a lot more food secure. And these businesses to actually sustain themselves without thinking that, oh, it's no longer a business I want to be in. Thank you. So we make highly dexterous robots. These robots are designed small video. For taking. Essentially, we take over all the work a person would have done in a what we call post-harvest industry. So currently, this work is done very manually. People go in and actually do all these processes before it comes into a packaged container. By the time you and I pick up, there's a lot of work which has been done before. Up until this stage, all of this work was very heavily reliant on human labor.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gould. I'm the founder and CEO of an organization called Thought for Food. Before I came to this event, I titled my presentation Generation Food, because in my work, I have the pleasure of working with next generation companies all over the world. But I have to say, I find the title even more apt now that I found out that the population of Saudi Arabia, almost 70% of people here are under the age of 30. That's really exciting to me because I believe in our world's next generations, we have the chance of a lifetime to solve our world's biggest challenges. And I was earlier this week at KAUST University organized an event called Saudi Food Futures with the Ministry of Agriculture, Water, and Environment. And my mind was blown by all of the research and innovation happening here in the kingdom, and really the vision and the ambition and the opportunity that Saudi is embracing to become the leader in climate resilient agriculture. And we need this. We need this more than ever because it's code red for humanity. All of our systems are under threat. That's not just our food systems, it's our geopolitical systems, it's our economic systems, it's our socioeconomic systems. And at the heart of this is actually our food systems. Our food systems are related to all 17 of our Sustainable Development Goals. They're responsible for at least 1/3 of GHG emissions when you think about how food is produced, how it's transported, how we consume it, and what's wasted. And our agriculture production systems are extremely affected by rising temperatures. But not just that, by biodiversity loss, soil depletion, water availability, and supply chain shocks, which we've all, really felt the effects of in recent years due to COVID and, of course, ongoing conflicts around the world. These pictures are pictures taken within the past 6 months of, fires, droughts, and, biblical level floods happening. These used to be once in a century types of catastrophes, and now they're happening, almost on the regular every month. Oh, this is my old slide deck, but I will go with it. So in our next generations, we have, I just want to check, could we pull up the slide deck? The right slide deck? Backstage, it's the wrong one. Sorry. We did test it, okay, it's coming, FYI. Because I do want to set the scene for our important conversation we have with two game-changing startups working in the alternative protein space by giving you a lens into the innovation opportunity that is in this sector. So let's see if we can get that one. I'm sorry. It's okay. Whoa, sorry. Okay. We're getting there. Okay. Thanks for holding with me. I'm going to speed through. Here we go. So like every entrepreneur knows, our planet's biggest challenges, in this case an existential challenge, are also our biggest opportunities. And there's a big opportunity in the agri-food tech sector. In fact, it's a 4.5 trillion annual opportunity and a 10 trillion global opportunity to be unlocked. Unfortunately, The costs of not taking action are about $12 trillion. So that's due to the unintended consequences that come from all of those challenges I mentioned earlier. But unfortunately, and as I've been talking, to many of the investors here, our investment paradigm for this sector is not fit for purpose, and we're really feeling the effects of that. We don't really have a big success story to date in agri-food tech. We've had a few M&As, but we haven't had that unicorn that's really, really made it. So there's a few reasons for that, and I'll get into that. But this shows, despite the downturn in investment that we're experiencing right now due to, some of the market situation, but also due to the specific needs and realities of this sector, the time is still now. We have to invest in this sector, and there's a big upside. Part of the reason investment hasn't worked as well as it could is because there's some unique and very specific realities of agriculture. The timelines are longer than in other sectors. And this is due to the fact that we're working with diverse types of stakeholders, like farmers. The average age of the world's farmers is over 65 years old, and it's the least digitized industry sector. So bringing in transformational digital technologies takes some time. There's also consumer acceptance issues, which we're going to be talking about with our speakers in our panel. There's regulatory issues, and there's a lot of factors that come, for example, with the paradigm of the environment in which we're introducing these technologies. So my organization is focused on being a next generation innovation engine for food and agriculture. We specifically focused on the global opportunity and currently under-ventured markets. To date, we've been around for 10 years. We've had quite a remarkable track record of helping to launch early stage startups in all regions of the world that have gone on to reach 300 million in venture capital investment. We've also really amassed the largest and most diverse innovation community in the agri-food tech sector. 30,000 millennial and Gen Z innovators in 187 countries. And we're working with some of the leading partners in the space. Every year we ask a question: how are we going to feed 10 billion people on a hotter planet? And this is a snapshot of some of the solutions that we saw from our most recent challenge, where we had around 3,000 teams participating from 139 countries. And you can see the diversity of the types of solutions that are really being generated from the ground up. And I want to give you a quick snapshot into some of these solutions and how the next generation is taking a really interesting approach to innovating for impact in this space. So one area is around regenerative and circular solutions. So how can we actually have a net positive benefit on people and the planet? So Brazil is focused on using cocoa byproducts to create a nutritious sweetener alternative. Bizeos in Norway are creating sustainable biomaterials from regeneratively grown seaweed. Rain-fed foods are unleashing the potential of millet, a currently underutilized crop that has so many attributes to make it a future crop. And she's really working on an end-to-end supply chain that is empowering smallholder farmers while also delivering healthy, nutritious consumer products. We're also seeing that next generation innovators are tapping into all of the wisdom that exists in our food systems. This is one of the world's oldest industries. There's lots of indigenous wisdom and ancient technologies that we can turbocharge with digital and AI-based technologies. Live Green Co. has built an AI platform that helps to replace synthetic additives and animal-based additives with plant-based alternatives. Umica in Mexico is working on biochar, which has the potential to sequester carbon for centuries. And Smallhold in the USA, a really amazing company, are bringing specialty and underutilized mushrooms to the average consumer. And we're also seeing that ag tech is being brought with inclusivity of smallholder farmers. The majority of our world farmers are smallholders, and this is a sector that is really ripe for reinvention. Microterra in Mexico is using wastewater streams from aquaculture and now greenhouses to produce lemna, which they then apply food technology to create a variety of ingredients for the alternative protein sector and also for creating sweetener alternatives. Easyagro has a regenerative platform working with smallholder farmers across Brazil to connect them to community and access to biological-based inputs. And FarmScent, based in UAE and working in Indonesia, has a Web3 platform connecting consumers with growers and allowing new investments to happen. These are just a snapshot of the types of solutions we see and we help to grow and scale. But what I really wanted to emphasize is that Millennials and Gen Zs and now up and coming Gen Alpha are coming to our food system with a new set of demands, zero compromises. They want win-win-win solutions, solutions that are good for the planet, that are good for consumers, and that are good for farmers. And they will not tolerate greenwashing. So if you're a company getting started, do consider this as the chance of a lifetime to engage with the next generations. If you're an investor, we'd love to talk with you about how we can make right-fitted investments work in this sector so that we can have the success stories that will continue to catalyze this industry, which is the world's most important industry, like I said, at the heart of our 17 development goals, sustainable development goals. As Steve Jobs said, let's together make something wonderful. And thanks for putting up with the technical difficulties. I'm happy to answer any questions after our panel. I'd love to invite Antoine and Dr. Ali to join me on stage, and we're going to dive into some of the cutting-edge technologies reshaping the future of food. Thank you. All right. Hello, hello. How are you guys doing?
Wonderful. Thank you.
Amazing. Yes. You guys are both making something wonderful, which I think is really needed in today's world. So Antoine, I know you have some scene sledding slides. So want to show those to us quickly?
The
Yeah?
slides,
Yeah, please.
Yeah, thank you.
Here's a
Thanks.
clicker.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. If we can pull up Antoine's slides, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank Christine. Hello, everyone. Happy to be with you. Thanks to the FII for the invite for my first time in Saudi Arabia. This is, in a few minutes, telling what we do in our vertical farms where we farm insects for about 10 years. And this is the inside of how we do it technically and in an automated way to reinvent the food chain. You said already a lot of good numbers. As we are really focused on animal feed and plant nutrition, few numbers, 25% of all the fisheries on Earth end up in other animals' guts, mainly fish feed. So that's an issue on biodiversity. 40% of the farmland is used for animal feed. If the pets will be one country, they will be the 5th one in the world eating meat. So that's also a very, very big number. And fertilizer alone represents 5% of climate change carbon emissions, which is more than aviation and shipping combined together. So there are a lot of very unknown numbers, and you see what's happening on the food chain. So facing the situation, we have designed our vertical farm with beetles. Beetles, mealworms, are processed into different ingredients, proteins, oil, and organic fertilizer for the two main applications I want to highlight for today. The first one is fish feed. Fish feed, as again, consume 25% of fisheries. They have issues of supply chain. There is not enough to follow the growth of this sector from salmon, shrimps, tilapia. A lot to do. We have two main ingredients that are really dense nutrients that enable not only the fish to grow, but to grow better in a healthier way. There is less mortality, like 77% less mortality on shrimps. It's about 33% more yield on the trouts. And one ingredient is really a superfood because with just few percent, you get 15% increase on the salmon. And we know how much today in Norway salmon is pressure under tax issues, and they have the issue for growth, and they're looking for really new ways to get productivity. The second big pillar is, as you were mentioning, Christine, regenerative agriculture. Our insects grow, they eat, we process them into ingredients, the proteins, but we collect their manure. And basically, this manure is an amazing organic fertilizer that can fully replace the chemical ones, and leading to amazing great benefits for the plants, like increase of yields, but we have also new products also that help the plants to grow under very big water stress or thermal stress, which is important in all the arid regions as we are here. So it's a new way also to grow the crops that are more sustainable with less carbon emissions, but also helping the plants to be more stronger and defend themselves against different stress, including droughts. This is the kind of symbiotic relationship we are building with companies in Europe, but here, if you look at this ecosystem in Saudi Arabia, insects could develop local farms that will then feed local feed mills to feed fish. Here in the country, there are very big programs to multiply by 10 the quantities of fish from 100,000 to 1 million tons of fish by 2030. So we are feeding them. In the middle, we have the fertilizer to feed all the crops. They are also a very big project for greenhouses. And then we collect all the waste from all these food supply chains. For instance, the fruit and vegetables, but the processing of products. And we can collect them and feed our insects. So it's a win-win situation because we can help to do this circular economy and feed our insects with the food waste that even include plastic. I can come back to it, but it's also a very good way to manage food waste under plastic bags. Today we have we are not new, 12 years of existence. We have 200 million contracted revenues with large players in Europe mainly. About 1 billion in the pipe. We have been growing as a standalone in Europe, and we are developing new ways to grow abroad as joint ventures, partnerships, licensing. Today in North America, but also now here in the Middle East. So that's a commercial reality, but it's also an industrial reality. The first picture was showing you what we were doing for 7 years in this small farm near Switzerland. And this one is the massive one who started a few months ago, and that is going to deliver the first customers in the coming days. You see 6 soccer games, a soccer field of size on 40 meters high, and generating 500 jobs on this site. So pretty big. It's a very tech. Everything is automated inside. We have about 440 patents filed globally, which is about half of the total global portfolio of the sector. So that's also our aim here in the country, in the GCC area, how to contribute to reduce imports of fish meal that is gonna cost more than 400 and most likely more than 500 million to the country in terms of imports by the end of the decade, and also how to produce more local fertilizer and help the crops to improve the soil and help their mechanism for against hydric stress, water stress in particular. Thanks for your time, and happy to discuss now.
Amazing. While we're pulling up the next set of slides, I do want to ask a quick question. We hear a lot about insects, mainly about black soldier fly, but you guys are doing mealworms. So tell us a little bit why you've chosen mealworms as your
It's a very good
choice.
question. There are about 1 million insect species today.
Okay, you can pull up his
1 million insect species in the world. We have been testing the dozen most important ones that are well known by scientists.
Yeah.
And we tested the fly, we tested crickets, and tested mealworms. This is the only species that gives you all the benefits I showed you in terms of health, in terms of growth. So it's really what we call a superfood. Superfood that you just need a small quantities in the feed of the fish, in the fertilizer, to have massive impact. So it's not like a big commodity, it's more really a specialty that gives you big benefits overall on animals.
More with less.
Flies are good, and we have a complementary solution for really massive, nutritional, sustainable, and healthy benefits.
Amazing, amazing. We're going to dive deep in our conversation, but let me invite you, Dr. Ali, to present our company, Omeat.
Awesome.
Another take on alternative proteins.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Really appreciate the invitation. So everyone has heard about the issues with agriculture. I was previously a professor at Harvard Medical School, and I was doing a lot of medical work. I actually have product that's in the clinic now. Once I learned about the issues with the industrial agriculture, I actually just totally changed my career. So the issues are all up here. Everyone is well aware of them. But to me, the thing that really was incredible is that 96% of the massive mammals on planet Earth are us and our livestock. So we've kind of fully taken over the planet. And with us going to 10 billion people, everything else pretty much has to go. This is what cellular agriculture is, and particularly cell cultivation, cultivated meat. The idea is to eliminate animals by being able to take cells, grow them in bioreactors, and be able to fully eliminate all the inefficiencies that are there in growing an animal for 2-3 years to make meat. So that's the reality of the process, what got people excited. But the challenge really is that it's super expensive. Right now we do cell culture in a dish, typically with very expensive ingredients. And actually the most commonly used ingredients is what people call fetal bovine serum, which is basically taking fetal cows, slaughtering it, taking the serum out, and then using that. So that's a very expensive process, not very scalable. So what Omeat has done is actually taken what I've learned in my regenerative medicine background and applied it to this area to be able to grow cells. So specifically, we know that there is a lot of regenerative potential in adult organisms. So we know now we can go and give plasma twice a week and be able to use that plasma to get regenerative growth factors that can be used to heal our own bodies. A lot of people do platelet-rich plasma injection to make them look younger, a variety of other applications. Now, we actually try to use that process, but use it from our livestock, specifically cows, to be able to grow the cells that we need in a very cheap manner. So that's the idea, and really this platelets, which are part of the serum, becomes the big kind of contributor there. They're sacks of growth factors that are filled with lots of potent things. So what Omit does is two things. One is we have cows. These cows are part of regenerative agriculture, sustainable farming. And from those cows, we go through and we get weekly plasma collections. And these weekly plasma collections wind up allowing us to make not only media that we can sell to other agri companies, pharma companies, research and development, as well as be able to be a vertically integrated meat company so that we actually address our own supply chain and be able to make the meat. So Omit has a lot of different unique things that allows us to get to cost and scalability. One of them being the fact that we have our own supply chain, we have unique bioprocessing that allows us to get much higher yields, and at the end we make things that are 100% animal-based protein, but also the supply chain that we develop from these cows that provide a lot of the ingredients. We can use that to make fish, leather, chicken, any other animal-derived product. And the good thing about this is that you can actually reduce the number of animals dramatically. From every cow, instead of now being able to raise it for slaughter, you can get many cows worth of meat. So you can eliminate the need for slaughter by orders of magnitude, the need for animals by orders of magnitude. And guess what? You never have to actually slaughter any animals. So that's how it actually addresses part of the climate challenge. And the other thing is that we actually can make carbon neutral meat by having Omit combined with regenerative agriculture process. So we actually have a double whammy in addressing climate solutions. And this is our final products. It actually winds up being very tasty meat. We've had lots of people come and taste it, and we definitely encourage you guys to come and visit in Los Angeles and have a tasting. And in fact, we can make it in halal version as well.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Amazing. So it's so amazing to have both of you here, kind of taking different takes on the need for a more sustainable protein transition. I want to double down on the last point that you made about this double win, because that's been a challenging conversation. I work a lot with government stakeholders. I advise the UN Food Systems Summit. And one of the challenges we face uniquely in the food system is, food is cultural, it's deep-rooted, there's a lot of inertia and entrenched interests. And one of the biggest areas where that exists is in livestock agriculture. So in some of the conversations I've had with farmers, they feel very threatened by cultured meat. But you're saying we can actually work with them, grow cattle, for example, regeneratively, while also propelling forward the cultured meat industry.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really one of the things that we're most excited about, because it actually gets these two different communities that are normally pinned together combined. Exactly. Yeah.
That's an amazing value proposition for the world. And one last question before we go to you and then have a bigger discussion. You mentioned halal. So I understand that cultured meat has been actually accepted as halal certified.
That's right. So it really depends on how it's made, and that's where the challenge is. You still need to apply kosher or halal standards and processes to make sure that the final product winds up being halal.
Amazing. All right, so back to insects. Now, you're also not eliminating livestock agriculture. What you're doing is help to make that agriculture much more sustainable, because currently animals are fed with corn and soy, and now we're bringing insects.
Yeah.
Insect meal, oils. And tell us about the sustainability metrics that we're improving. Water, land use, climate.
If you look compared to other meats, it's like 40 times less carbon emissions or 40 times less water and about 30 times less footprints than any other animal proteins.
Yeah.
And so basically you have the quality of the nutrient quality of meat in terms of amino acids, digestibility index at 90% in the PDCAS, which is the index for digestibility. But you have also the footprint of plants. So it's like in between, but the purpose is not to replace, it's to create a room in between. And this is, I think, the real success. There won't be any winner takes all in this overall food industry. It's a question of re-diversifying our food. We have been with the Green Revolution after the World War, and even agriculture before, just reducing a lot the quantity of food diversity we eat.
Yeah.
Just few crops like wheat, corn, and rice, and few fruit and vegetables, and chicken and beef. And we were, as sapiens, eating like hundreds of different ingredients. So the purpose is more to rediscover the biodiversity of algae, of insects, of other invertebrates, of different crops and plants. And new technologies that the cellular meat, definitely. So it's more diversifying and then eating less in quantities of this red meat, of the soy. So it will reduce also the pressure to the environment to rebalance everything in a more diversified way.
Rebalance and regenerate. And I love in both of your solutions that there's really this net positive, value proposition for farmers, for the planet, for consumers, which leads me to my next question, which is, have you studied, do your technology approaches have the chance to make the meat that we eat better tasting and healthier than what's currently available?
Definitely. I think that's one of the things that I'm excited about in terms of being able to control what goes into our meat. Specifically, we have very tight control over what fatty acids we put in there, what kind of fat profile you get. The meat that we make actually winds up being sterile. There's never any antibiotics inside it. Yeah, so lots of other benefits.
Nice.
And we did a lot of tests with chefs and shrimps. For instance, tested better or blind tested compared to shrimps fed with commercial diet. So it was reinforcing the taste of the shrimps. And we work with another company. They found out that in our species, the quantities of vitamin D precursor is the highest in all animal and vegetable kingdoms. So they are then expressing this precursor, and it's the biggest density of vitamin D you can find.
That's amazing because actually we know with consumers, taste is king, and then comes health and nutrition and sustainability. With our next generations is a very important factor, but it's not the driving factor for most consumers. We are out of time, but that was a very whirlwind session. But I would like to suggest if anyone would like to come talk to us about what it takes to innovate and invest in this sector, about the solutions that we had the pleasure of hearing, we'll maybe stand over here and would love to chat with you. But thanks so much for joining us, and here's to a brighter future of food. Thank you.
Thank you.